are back. This is the Dana White Contender Series preview 2020 season week 8. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. This is being brought to you by the Sherdog Radio Network and the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. We were off for a couple weeks as the UFC went over to Fight Island, but they're back stateside in Vegas to kick off, or I should say restart up the Contender Series. We originally had 5 fights scheduled. I did a film study on all 5 fights. One of the fights got canceled last minute. It was the only female fight on the card that was, Pauline Macias versus Gloria Polo. That fight got canceled last minute as Polo tested positive for COVID-19. Looks like it's going to be scheduled for possibly the third week or the last week of the series, the third week in a row. So 2 weeks from now, but I'm not really quite sure. Another replacement we had, Oscar Ivankota was replaced this week by Harry Hunsucker. I don't know why Dakota was taken out. Might have been injury, might be COVID related, I'm not sure. Let's get right into this. I want to warn people that every week I talk about a possible, every week I talk about how hard it is to really study some of these guys. There's not many, there's not much film on some people, and it seems like every week there's always one fight or fighter that it's hard to find film. This week there's a lot of guys. There's not that much film, so I'm not as confident as I usually am. But I'll make my picks. I'll break down the fighters. So let's get right into it. The first fight, we have Jared Vanderay. Yeah, I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with his name. Versus Harry Hunsucker. As we said, Hunsucker's taking this fight on just short notice. Vanderay is a Team Quest member, trains under Dan Henderson. I know he was brought in to train with Dominic Reyes for the John Jones fight, so he's been training with some really good guys. He's got a 10-4 record. Little flat-footed, kind of slow, pretty unathletic. Does work behind a jab. Loses some power because he kind of pulls his head back when punching. He struggled bad with leg kicks against Renan Ferreira. He does like to close the distance, get to the clinch where he does his best work. A dirty boxer. I'd say he's an okay wrestler. So he can get some trip takedowns, some body lock takedowns. But he's not a power wrestler. It's not like a high level NCAA wrestler or anything like that. Kind of a weak takedown defense guy. Has been taken down on his way up in his career. He does have a good chin. He's been tagged in many fights, and I haven't seen him get too hurt. And I'm also impressed with his cardio, as he seems to be able to. He's a kind of a builder. Like his output increases as the fight gets deeper in the deep waters, the second and third round, which is really surprising considering this is a heavyweight. Move over to Hunsucker. I did all the film study on Coda, and of course he got replaced last minute, so I had to hurry up today and watch some film study on Hunsucker. Hunsucker's 31 years old, 6-2 record. He's pretty aggressive. He sits on his punches pretty well. Does keep his chin high in the air, which should leave him open, to get tagged. A lot of kicks, push kicks, some hard leg kicks. I didn't see much ground game from him in the fights I did find of him. He does have a lot of first round knockouts, but I didn't like that he was breathing pretty hard even when he's destroys guys. So if Vanderay, who is a guy that I just talked about, builds as the fight goes, that could be a big, big problem if Hunsucker doesn't end the fight early, especially being that, there's a guy who took the fight on short notice. The other thing that really disturbs me is the level of competition Hunsucker has fought. I mean, he's fought some really, really low-level competition. I'm talking about guys that, make Butterbean look like Sage Northcutt, big, fat, I don't know where they found these guys. And Hunsucker isn't that great of an athlete himself. He's just kind of less fat than his competition. So who am I taking? I'm not very high on Vanderay, but I'm picking him here. He's faced the better competition. He's beaten the stiffer competition. He has the full camp. I'd say he works Hunsucker on the feet, outworks him. I think he gets the clinch, maybe get a takedown, and I think he ends the fight. I'm going to say in the first round. So I'm going to say Vanderay by first round, ground and pound. If you get a first round finish on the Contender Series, that's usually going to get you a UFC contract. And I'm actually going to lock this in as my lock of the night. I say Vanderlei wins, and that is my lock of the night. Moving on, we got Vince Murdoch versus Luis Saldana. Murdoch, 29 years old, 11-5 record, Team Alpha Male member, most famous most known, I should say, when he was signed a contract with the UFC back in 2019. He was supposed to fight Jordan Griffin, but failed medicals and had a rare brain injury or a brain disease. I don't really understand, but something was wrong in his brain. He actually needed brain surgery, which is really scary. He's had this surgery, and as far as I know, he's fighting this fight, so he must be doing well. I did see a lot of film on him. One of the fights that really stands out is the TJ Laramie. He's got a win over TJ Laramie, who's fought on the Contender Series. That fight was a screw job. Laramie won that fight, and I don't like to throw the word robbery out there, but he clearly won that fight. But moving on, let's talk about Murdoch. Thing that stands out to me is these combinations are always pretty aggressive. He throws, he attacks with combination, kind of fights in bursts. Like he likes to stand on the outside, kind of use movement, and then just crash the pocket and swarm with output. Nice check left hook. Will target the body, which I like. Sits on his punches to draw some pretty good power. Lots of power hooks when he does that. He feints high and low, faking like he's going to shoot, which is really good. Probably something you get at working with Team Alpha Male. Hard leg kicks, occasional spinning attack. Defensively, he got a little bit of holes. He backs straight up, which I don't like. His best work, similar to the last guy I just picked, Vanderlei, is probably his clinch striking. It's really good. And he's a solid wrestler, not an elite wrestler, especially not an elite wrestler being a Team Alpha Male guy. Like, there's a lot of, like a Chad Mendez is a much better wrestler than Murdoch. Good, solid takedown defense. Move out of Saldana. Saldana's 29 years old, 13-6. He's a fight-ready team member. There's a little limited film study on him. Like, I didn't get too much film study from what I did see. He's long and lengthy, Muay Thai type striker, pretty athletic, pretty elusive, fast hands, tons of kicks. He did finish one fight with calf kicks, which I liked. Not a lot of power though in the punches. Definitely some power with the kicks, with the calf kicks. We'll go for a takedown, but not a wrestler by any means. Kind of weak takedown defense, though he does have 4 submission wins. This is a tough fight because I wish I had more film on Saldana to get a really firm grasp on him. That said, he actually is the betting favorite, which I was surprised by. I'm actually going to go against the bettors. I'm going to take Murdoch. I mean, Murdoch's only a slight underdog, plus 145, so it's not like a huge gap. I'm going to take Murdoch just simply because I've seen more of his game in that he's well-rounded. Like, he can hang on the feet or on the ground. He has a better reputation. He had the UFC contract. So I think he wins. I think he only wins by decision. But despite that, I think, he already had the UFC contract. A brain injury stopped him from being able to compete. He worked himself back. If he gets to win, I can't see how the UFC wouldn't give him a contract. So I think it's going to be 2 for 2, and I think Vince Murdoch gets a contract. The next fight up was supposed to be Pauline Macias versus Gloria de Polo. That was a fight I was actually looking forward to. Both girls, I think, do have some pretty promising future. So let's move on. The next one, Ignacio Bermudez versus Edson Gomez. It's funny that I think I got Bermudez name correct, which is probably harder than Vanderlei, which I really struggled with. Now I'm messing up. Bermudez, a 10-3 record. From Chile, he's fought in some pretty good organizations, Combates America, Island fights. He's athletic. He's exciting. Like, he's kind of flashy, long and lengthy, high output striker. Can be a little wild as he kind of will just wing punches, especially his overhand. He got a little bit of defensive flaws. He likes to reach and does a lot of hand fighting, but he kind of reaches and leaves his chin open because of that. But the things he does well is he has a lot of stand switches. He can fight from both orthodox and southpaw. But what I'm most impressed with him is that he'll attack a combination and switch stances in mid-combination. That's something that we saw Israel Adesanya will do. I by no means is saying he's on the level of striking of Israel Adesanya, but it's a good sign of someone who's comfortable on their feet. He doesn't like pressure. Like, I saw a fight where he lost simply because of pressure. He didn't really like fighting off his back foot. But he did land stepping knees a lot. And anybody who's ever listened to any of my breakdowns, any shows on, they know, especially all the way times when I used to do shows with Chicken Parm, Dave Stewart, people know how much I love stepping knees. Nice power. He's got solid takedown defense. But if he does get taken down, he will attack with subs from the bottom, triangles, arm bars. This could be an issue though, because sometimes when people play the ground game, they give away rounds because they're looking for sub instead of scrambling up. I also saw that, I watched one fight where we went 5 rounds, which I liked, and he didn't really slow in those 5 rounds. So cardio shouldn't be an issue. Moving over to Gomez, 29 years old, 6-1. Another guy that is not that much film on, which I don't like. He also faced off against some low-level competition. He's a bit of a brawler, wild, probably, I shouldn't even say wild, kind of sloppy. He drops his hands, kind of wings his punches. He does a lot of like sliding back and trying to pull people into his power, if you know what I mean when I say that. He kind of like I was gonna try to explain. He backs up and kind of like gets you to chase him. Then he kind of wings a power punch, trying to time you coming in. Occasional spinning attack, lots of kicks, lots of front kicks, high kicks. He's got a decent entry, decent wrestler. Even though I saw an interview where he doesn't come from a wrestling background, but he does have a pretty good entry, so I like that. When he gets on top, pretty good ground and pound. So as far as prediction, there's not much film on Gomez, so I'm not too confident in this pick. That said, Mondays has faced a stiffer competition. There's one fight really stood out to me that he just kind of really had some really high volume, kept moving forward, attacking with combination. I like that. So I think he picks Bart Gomez, and I actually think he might get a stoppage because I like his power. So I'll take Mondays. I'll say late second round TKO, and I actually think he gets a contract. So I think it's going to be 3 for 3 for contracts. And moving on to the main event, I know this is a quicker show than we're used to. It's only 4 fights, and like I said, there's not much film on some of these fighters. So because of that, a little shorter episode than usual. Main event, we have Carlos Ulberg versus Bruno Oliveira. Carlos Ulberg is 29 years old. He's 2-0 in MMA. He's from New Zealand. He's a city kickboxing member, professional kickboxer, has fought some high-level kickboxing. Absolutely like shredded. This guy has muscles on top of muscles. He's very calm, fast, accurate striker, as you'd expect from a high-level kickboxer. Defensively, he keeps his right hand just glued to his chin. Pillars with like a high guard, so he's hard to strike. Does that translate to MMA as well, being the smaller gloves? I don't think pillaring does translate, but it still leaves you something to have to get past. He does really well distance striking. He understands distance well. A lot of feints with his hands, a lot of feints with his legs, like those, what I call like the hip feints, and what I've always liked. Good kicks. He'll throw those oblique kicks. Little from the fights I saw in MMA, he fights a lot different in kickboxing. He has much higher output, but in MMA, I don't know if he's worried about the takedown because he has very low output. But when I did see one of his fights where an opponent did go for takedowns, he did stop him pretty easily. So that's a good sign. But the low output, looking for the perfect shot, or just being tentative, I didn't like. Oliveira's 36 years old. You can't like that. Brazilian, 8-1 record. He's been training with American top teams, so you gotta like that. Another guy, there's not a lot of film on him. One of the fights I did get to see was his last one, where he faced off against Jared Gooden, who is, good fighter himself, good regional level guy. He ran right through Jared Gooden, knocked him out pretty badly. Gooden was kind of like wobbling around once the fight was stopped. Oliveira's huge. He's big for the weight class, 6'4". He's got some big power. I like his vision. Like, he was seeing everything that Wooden was throwing at him. Nice feints. Also throws the leg feints. Work behind a jab. He does drop his hands. He might have a little overconfidence, being that he hurt Gooden. I saw like 2 or 3 fights of this guy, but the Gooden one is the one that's kind of standing in my head. I really like his clinch striking. Very aggressive. He was throwing like elbows in there. I didn't see much on the ground, but there is a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments with him in it, and film of him in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. So I definitely like that, though I didn't see him in any fights. As far as prediction, again, I'm not very confident, as there's not much film on either guy. I'm going to take Oliveira. He'll definitely have his work cut out for him on the feet. I expect Alberg to probably have the advantage on the feet, though his output is a little disturbing, so Oliveira could just be more active. Clinch could be an area for him, but the biggest difference is I haven't seen any ground game from Alberg, which I hate that counted against somebody. And also, I didn't see much film from Oliveira. I'm just assuming that Oliveira, coming from his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, I expect him to have, more experience in Jiu-Jitsu and all that. So I expect him to have the advantage there. He's faced the better competition. He has beaten the better competition. So I'm going to take Oliveira to win. This is actually going to be my upset special, as he's actually, right now, he's a plus 185 underdog. So I'll take him. Just to recap, I am taking, in the first fight, Jared Vanderey to beat, what was the first gentleman's name? Hunsucker. What was his first name? Harry Hunsucker. I'm taking that by first round, ground and pound. I think Vanderey gets a decision. I'm taking Vince Murdoch to win a close decision over Luis Saldana. I think Murdoch also gets a UFC contract. The third fight of the evening, I got Ignacio Ramondes over Edson Gomez by third round TKO. I said second round TKO. I apologize. Second round TKO. I also think he gets a UFC contract. And then finally, I'm going to take Bruno Oliveira. I'm going to say he wins. Let's say second. I didn't give it how he wins. I'm going to say he wins by second round submission. I'm going to say he also gets a UFC contract. So I say 4 for 4. All 4 fighters get contracts. Those are my picks, guys. Like I said, a little shorter episode than usual, just from the lack of film and also only having 4 fights. Guys, hit me up on Twitter at Keith Shillan MMA. That's KeithShillanMMA. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me who you guys got for these picks. We'll see you next week. We'll be breaking down 5 more fights.